What's up, everybody?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, everybody, start dropping in. What's happening?
Hey,
Welcome, welcome.
hey, what's going on, Matt?
Oh man, not much. How are you, Ben?
Good, sir. Good.
Oh, awesome, man. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, sir. Looking
Um,
forward to it.
yeah, dope, dope. Josh is going to help with moderating kind of questions over in the chat area. So anybody who's got anything that pops up, they want kind of specifics around, um, drop it into the chat, and we'll make sure that I get to it and we address it. Um, I kind of wanted to do things a little differently tonight than I've done some other webinars. Uh, we'll go over the basic kind of concept of what this minimum effective dose is and why you would implement it in your life. But really, what I care about is addressing where this needs to show up for you. So, start thinking about where do you struggle with consistency? Where do you have issues with kind of the all or nothing approach that keeps leaving you slipping back? Do we know what clearly our goals look like? Because if we're falling into some trap, right, around I want better. Like better is not a clear destination to like set a direction with. We need more clarity than that. We need to define what better looks like because if we don't have some direction or intention of what we're trying to accomplish by implementing this strategy, then I can't tell you what to implement to make that happen. There's an old quote that without a port in mind, all winds are bad. But also, good sailors can sail into the wind and they can sail against the wind. It's because they know where they're going, so they know how to use the energy that's available to get there. They do what they can. Some days you move a little faster, some days you move a little slower, but you do it the best you can. It's figuring out how not just to wait for perfect winds to set sail and then realize you're also not a good sailor because you never practiced sailing. It's we keep showing up. We keep managing what that minimum effective dose looks like. I've talked about in the past about knowing like what the floor is. So we got another couple minutes before people kick off. I'd love to jump into some conversations with you guys. I know there's some people I've spoke to before in the past. If this is new and your first kind of chance to jump in on a webinar with me, um, I'd love to know why you're here. I'd love to know what interested you, and I'd really like to find out how I can help. I'll start calling on people I don't know. David,
Yeah,
what's up, man? Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
What interests you in this?
The chance to learn from you. I've been following your story since the Drift to Lifter days.
Oh man,
Um,
thanks.
yeah, so yeah, just that I'm a lot busier now that I have a 3-year-old at home, so finding time to train becomes increasingly difficult, and I have to be super efficient with that time.
Okay, so where is the issue around what aren't you getting done?
Uh, right now, cardio would be my kind of hang up is making time to address my heart health.
What's the intention behind addressing it? So,
Man,
like,
just
are
walk.
we training for a thing, or are we just trying to be overall in better health?
Just my training goal at this point in my life is in 10 years when my kid is playing sports and he wants to go throw a ball or do whatever sport he's involved in, I want to be able to be out there and help him practice and get better at
Oh,
that
yeah.
sport.
Cool. So, what's your mornings look like?
Um, Right now it's mornings is a lot of my workouts. I do train. I'm a strength coach. So I have teams that train at 9 a.m. when school starts. I'll be starting my day at 6, 7 a.m. most
So you lift on
days.
your own first.
Sometimes, depending on my work schedule, I may train after work or before work, depending on when it fits in my schedule.
Okay. Um, if what you're missing is cardio, how many days a week are you getting a consistent lift in now?
Uh, right now, right now I have two scheduled. I try to, if I have time in my schedule, I squeeze a third in. It's squeezing that cardio in during my work day.
Well, I'm trying
So
to
I do
figure out, so
work at a
like, can you
gym.
not have that open time in the morning every morning?
Uh, I could make time, like just make time for it in the mornings.
Okay, so
Um,
instead of
yeah,
what you said with not being able to find time, you mean you don't prioritize it.
yeah, that's probably a better way to say it is not a priority for me right now.
Right on. So why wouldn't we
Yeah,
change that so that we can be free of that feeling of why aren't I doing this for me?
I feel like that's an easy question. It just needs to be made a priority.
Well,
Simple
I mean,
answer, right?
also lower the bar. Like, what's wrong with going for a 15-minute walk or go jog a mile? Like, this is
That
a new practice that you're trying to get consistent at. Showing up at all is more important right now than the quality of the single workout, right? So,
right. It's being less rigid in my structure, coming out of a strength and conditioning background, being less rigid in like this is what I have to do, and if I can't do all of it, don't do it. It's like,
mhm,
I 15 minutes is better than 0 minutes.
100%. Not only that, look at what it accomplishes long term. And since you have a strength and conditioning background, then let's present some truths that you know to be absolutely true.
Okay,
Any of the
uh,
athletes you train, do you believe consistency is more important than intensity for creating long-term change?
100%.
So that would apply to you too.
Yes.
So, do you think giving whatever your best effort every day would slowly create this adaptation over time? I mean, we're not trying to run marathons, right? Like, so remove any outcome related what needs to be accomplished by doing this cardio. You said what the intention is. That's accomplished by you going to walk for 30 minutes every day.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
get to where you're getting up and can go at least walk for 30 minutes every day. Like, look at what that adds up to in a year. What it also does is it sets the bar that you prioritize you first thing in the morning. That
Yes.
is, and so what really comes from that minimum effective dose, and whether it's 30 minutes of cardio, but you need to make a decision about what's something that you can. So, this is really what the standard of that minimum effective dose is trying to accomplish. What's the least that you need to do so that you don't climb all over your ass the rest of the day in your head about not doing it? Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
you know how whenever you're skipping it, you have this feeling of like, oh, I'm letting myself down. I should be doing this. And then this internal narrative around not doing the thing. And then creating the excuse about I don't have time. And now we have even more narrative around one day I will, whatever that equals.
Yeah.
So instead of worrying about any of that, how much do you need to do cardio so that you don't do that to yourself in your head? Is that run a mile? Is it run a 5K? Is it walk 30 minutes every day? Or is it I go walk intentionally every day to start my day doing something good for me and my body and my future?
Probably the third one to start with the idea that I can start building things back up.
Well, cool. So then 5 minutes doesn't matter either.
Right.
Because what matters more is that you get up and actually do the thing than any single day's effort. It matters more that you overcome that voice of resistance that tries to talk you out of it when you've made a decision. My suggestion is why you get up every morning, be attached enough to that idea and intention of doing this so that you can play with your kids as long as possible and stack the cards in your favor for long-term health. And be enough in love with that to override that little piece of resistance that doesn't feel like it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Does that make
I,
sense
I
how to apply that in that case? Like, because at the end of the day, dude, what you choose to spend your time and energy on is, in fact, what you prioritize. And if you would look at that without being in your own head and look at where your time is spent every day, make sure that aligns with what you think it should be. You know, if I know going forward, like I want to be someone that gets up in the morning and takes care of this shit so I don't have to think about it all day, then my suggestion is start building the practice of being that guy that gets up instead of demanding that it looks like an hour of cardio, very serious about X, Y, and Z.
yeah, be be less about chasing a specific adaptation and more about just doing something.
Creating the habit first. So, like, you know, friends and family of mine that reach out that want training advice or want programming, I have no interest in writing it anymore because they're not going to go. We all know that. So the first thing I even tell anyone is I just need you to go to the gym 5 days a week and do anything. Because if I can't get you to the gym, there's no reason for me to tell you what program to write. Like, I just need you to go and do something that feels good. Do something that you leave the gym feeling better about yourself than when you got there. That's a pretty low bar to select to build the habit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually stole that idea a few years ago for some friends.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Hell yeah.
Yes.
David, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know how much you've checked out what all we're doing now with retreats and everything else, but we're going to send a message out at the end of the call today for
Okay.
I've seen a bunch of you before. We've chatted with a number of people before, and so I'm going to send out a text to everybody at the end of this for those who qualified for the retreat in November, the free retreat. And I want to get on a call with everyone to make sure it's a fit. Because I don't want people here that
Cool.
are just fucking around. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so those of you who qualify for that will get a text from us at the end of this. And I'm excited to talk more about it. So, let's talk about minimum effective dose. About time to kick things off. This is a strategy that I use to guarantee progress. There's a couple parts to it that really matter. One is the same strategy I use to accomplish anything, which is first comes with inspiration. What is the thing I'd like to accomplish? From there, it goes to awareness. Why do I want to accomplish that? What does actually accomplishing that look like? What steps need to be taken to accomplish it? The third part is going to be your intention. Back to like what I asked David, what's your intention for doing this? Let's make sure we connect to that. That way we know what's the point. Who are we doing this for? What's the reason? And being honest with ourselves of what that is. And finally, it's action. It's putting it into practice. And the best way to do that is having some boundaries. Knowing that I will get this done every day no matter what. Whatever that needs to be, that's your standard. Whatever that little bit that needs to get done that can positively move the needle, which in all honesty is more than nothing. So if you're doing the alternative, which is jack shit, my suggestion is doing anything that's aligned with the thing that you want to become is positive. And so removing that barrier of, well, I'm not doing it good enough, or it hasn't happened faster, or any of this other type of lie we tell ourselves and then why we bail. But it's establishing what's the least that needs to be done for me to make progress. Knowing what that looks like. You know, at this point in my life, I know that I operate better if I'm doing about 5 hours of cardio a week. If I also fit in time to train, great. But 5 hours of cardio needs to be my standard. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, but that goes based on my goals. My goals are managing my mindset when I wake up in the morning. So managing some type of hour of movement or something like that helps burn off a little bit of that energy and uncertainty that I have with the day so that I take care of me first, so that I don't have to bog myself down with any more of those internal thoughts around, well, I'll have to get to it later in the day, or I'll move myself into third place again, and if I can fit it in, I'll take care of me. Instead, I make it happen first. And I treat myself like I'm my best asset. And I consistently show up and do it. It's not perfect. Because at the end of the time, like, if you tell me that you got up and followed a morning routine for 300 out of 365 days of the year, it's not that important what you did each time. It's more important that you got up and took time for yourself. It's more important that you got up and did something intentional. It's starting to show yourself that we can build trust and follow through on things. It's finally admitting that that all or nothing approach isn't it. The hard part about that all or nothing approach and having the admitting that it isn't it is most likely some of you have found success with it in other areas of your life. And using the gas of all or nothing works very, very well to get people from bad in life, which is a place that you don't want to be, to good, to comfortable, to I need to refocus on myself, because clearly if I make another raise, change, this or that, I don't get any fucking happier. It's just a different version of what I already have. So instead, now that's that time that we're not pushing ourselves out of scarcity because we're fear of failure. We're trying to push ourselves toward what's best for us. And that's a very different intention. And so it's strategizing those things to make sure that you know what can be done so that you can make that progress. What does that look like in regards to meals? What does that look like in regards to any of the goals you're chasing? Does that make sense what kind of minimum effective dose is, how to apply it, and why that works versus trying to do the all or nothing intensity?
Yeah.
Because if we have that minimum effective dose set and I do it 90% of the time, I'm going to make progress long term anyway. That's what I want happening all the time, instead of when I just go, holy shit, I need to fix a problem. Because we all have a tendency to be able to do it with the holy shit, I need to fix a problem. But doing it when things are good, not just doing it to get ourselves out of the hole and kickstart the thing, but it's how you continue to stay making progress, is you know you have this little bit. And what happens when you do that little bit, more and more often, you figure out you'll swing for more than just that little minimum effective dose most days. And when the days are good, man, when any of you guys are on fire and you feel motivated and feel connected, like no one needs a plan that day. That's the day everything works out. Go let it rip. If the pan's hot, cook, man. But what matters is how you handle the days it isn't. Like, those are the days you show up telling the universe that this is the direction I'm going. I'm making progress this way. I'm going to continue showing up. Ty, how did I get to 5 hours of cardio as my standard? So mostly I use that around cycling. And so that's become a standard for me due to what I like doing for hobbies, which is more cycling and some longer adventures with my friends. And so that's what I give another intention of my cardio to, is making sure that I'm ready to say yes to a fun adventure by kind of keeping the engine revved enough. Like, I'm not necessarily fully in shape with 5 hours of cardio for some of the adventures I want to do. And this is all relative to just me and what I want to accomplish at this point in my life. And so I know that if I'm getting 5 hours of cardio in a week, split up however that looks like, right now that I'm kind of 5 weeks into being very consistent, it looks like 3 days. I'm doing 2 2-hour rides and a single hour ride. One of those I'm trying to push a little bit harder on pace. I'm just playing with it. But the idea is that no matter what, I'm 6 or 8 weeks out from saying yes to anything super fun. Instead of like, oh, I can't because I haven't been doing shit. Let's also look at like the other side of what that hour of cardio does for me. I know 45 minutes a day, like 4 days a week of zone 2 cardio eliminates 50% of all life mortality. So I may as well check that box while I'm at it. If universally what's honestly true to me is the years in front of me, is what I stand for. It's not dead yet. It's about making most of the time that's left. I don't give a fuck about the spent time. That shit's gone. That shit's already in memory world. I can't do anything about that. But if doing this other thing increases the quality of the rest of the life that I get to live and provides me more opportunities to say yes to things, then I'm going to put those deposits in the bank because of how in love I am with the opportunity of my future. So it accomplishes that as well. The other side of it is being honest. When I've done it consistently, I feel better. I'm more focused. I'm less mean to myself. And I like the way my body changes. And if I'm serious about giving a fuck about my life, then I show up. Otherwise, I quit pretending I care about it and I find something that I do. You're not obligated to give a fuck about anything. If you don't know what to care about, I recommend something in the realm of mental, physical, and spiritual. A lot of those can overlap too. Greg, do you ever run into a time when you've added too much to your minimum effective dose schedule and then as if you're failing to check all the boxes, what do you do hone in on important items? So the point of having the minimum effective dose is, Carl, I'll get to that next. Cool. Josh, will you pull up Greg for me so I know who I'm talking to? So do I ever run into a time where I've added too much? Like, that's the point of the minimum effective dose. Is like my minimum some days is I'm going to sit and breathe for 5 minutes and do some gratitude. Because, man, I travel. I'm not rigid. That's one of the issues with consistency with a lot of people is you build this idea of what it has to look like. And you become so rigid in that you can't adapt. Like, there's a flow to life, man, and sometimes shit's too busy. What matters is that I did something. Is that I took some time for myself and did some practice that makes me feel better and more prepared for the day. Now, if I have specific goals, like I'm trying to compete in a thing, then I need to hold some different standards. But I've got to be able to decide that and then reprioritize accordingly. Where does this kind of show up for you, man?
Just basically end up, like I said, making a list so long, feeling like, all these small things I can accomplish will add to feeling better. And that list becomes so overbearing, you miss a few and then you feel like even though it was a small thing, you failed to do it.
So one of the books that like I have my clients read is one of the first things while working with me is called The Gap and the Gain. So this helps with recognizing awareness around scarcity mindset. And so if you're focusing on the 3 things that you didn't get to out of the 12 that you did, focus more on what you got done. Because let me give you some other truth that we can probably also agree on. The list is never ending, man. So quit giving a shit about not finishing it. How many days do you look at the list and say, fuck it, what's the point? And so instead of that, you've got to decide why those things are important to you. Why do they benefit you? Why do they help you reach your goals of becoming who you want to be? And you've got to connect to that enough that it's always worth overcoming the resistance in some way. Man, believe me, whenever I start getting back into routine, like when I got back from being in Europe for a month, trying to get back into cycling, like I know what my minimum effective dose is, but I've also done this enough that I know that first week, all that matters is I get on the bike for some amount of time every day. If that's pedaling here at the office, I don't care. I'm not even holding it strict to an hour. I just need to know that I'll get on it every day. Some days it's great, and some days I do an hour, no problem. And some days I even sneak more in. Fuck it. But other days, 30 minutes in, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. But I got 30 minutes. What I've also come to realize is most of these practices that I put off, I don't want to do. I come up with reasons why I don't want to do it, can't do it, especially in the moment. I know overall I want to do it, but it's overcoming it in the moment. I recognize all that. I also recognize that every time I've ever followed through, I feel the way I want to feel. I've never done any of the practices and then felt worse. I never took the little bit of time I had and still said, cool, let's go get a 10-minute walk away from my phone. Something for me that's outside in the sun. It's beneficial. Let me do that. I've never felt worse after doing it. So it's knowing what those little minimum effective doses are, because anything's better than nothing. And we want to build the habit of doing something. I can always do something. If it's tight, do push-ups. Do gratitude sitting still, write in a journal. Does that make sense? Anywhere like you want more specific application of how I could?
No, that hits home pretty well. I guess, like you said, find the activity that does something for you and puts you in the direction that you want to be going, instead of just that laundry list where the just accomplishment of it is the goal, which really isn't the purpose behind it.
Well, look, man, one of the reasons I use the vision board the way I set it up with the sticky notes is all I care about is accumulation. I'm not competing with the effort I did yesterday versus today. Today's different. I have different demands. And so my care is about what am I accumulating over the month? How do I accumulate a little bit more over the month? And not giving a shit about the individual day effort. Just something has to be done. There has to be momentum built first. Cool, man.
Thank you.
Carl, talk a little bit more about how you got to the point where you prioritize yourself, even in a minimum dose, in a world that demands so much that's out of our control. What was a breaking point for you, or just gradual learning curve? I was fucking miserable. That was really the breaking point, was that I also finally had to take a second and address my own bullshit lies around. One of those lies is, well, I'll just do it in the afternoon. I won't. I fucking won't. Does it make a difference whether you do it in the morning or afternoon? It doesn't at all. You could accomplish the exact same thing, either point doing it, makes no difference. What I find is I have less excuse other than I don't want to first thing in the morning. And so,
Sets the tone for the day.
sorry?
Sets the tone for the day.
That's it. Not only that, I did prioritize me. I did keep my word to myself last night. And then I lean into the gratitude practice on the back end of it to start rewiring, to make sure that I know how good it feels to show up for me.
Yeah.
Instead of just getting killed by that negative, doubtful voice in my head.
Right.
Now, how did I get to the point where I said, fuck it, I'm first?
Yeah.
Why aren't you first?
The journey I'm on right now. So it's been a little bit of a last past year is reprioritizing my life. I mean, I'm 43, got 3 kids, corporate job, great salary. It just seems like everything is just suck, and it's just not me. I'm doing everything for everyone else. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to like kind of wire my brain to putting
Yeah.
myself as a priority. So
Well,
it's
I
it's
mean,
been a
at
little bit of a
least
journey.
noticing whatever we're
Yeah,
currently doing, remove my feelings about it and let's just look at data.
yeah,
Whatever I'm currently doing isn't it?
yeah,
Are you the main provider in your household, father, leader?
yeah, yeah.
So then what you're telling me is you're the most important asset in the house?
Uh, it's mutual. I mean, I've got a great
I
partner, great
understand
wife.
everybody
So
has a
yeah,
role. Make no
yeah,
mistake. I don't
exactly.
mean that I'm not saying
Yeah,
that their role is any less because yours is important.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
But what I am saying is that if you're the most valuable asset, treat yourself like it.
right. Yeah. Like I said, it's been an interesting journey in the last couple of years. I feel like I know some people call it a midlife crisis. Some people
Sure.
call it a breaking point,
Yeah, it's all the
but
same stuff. Look, it's just
I'm
an
there.
awareness.
I'm there now of like corporate burnout of just the suck of everything that's coming down. So it's reprioritizing things in my life to make sure that, like you said, putting me first. And
Dude, we
so
can do
that's
that.
what
Look, it's
yeah,
learning methods to recognize and have an awareness of the
exactly.
bullshit stress. It's being able to down regulate so that you can sleep better. It's doing
Yeah,
these other practices that do actually fulfill you and give yourself time to think instead of constantly solving problems for other people.
that's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
That's what this mechanism gives you. That's
right.
what I work with clients on. Because man, there's
Yeah,
some point where you realize that that driving force of once I get X, I'll feel Y and then I can relax. Once I
it's,
get the next thing, I'll be able to this. Once we
that's the
achieve,
thing. Why
and
has never come and why has never fulfilled me once I got there, and
well,
it's just an
so let's
endless
just
kind of
recognize
spiral.
that then as a truth, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the only thing you're getting with that method anymore is a shinier version of the life you already have. And so it's not exciting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just because something's hard to acquire doesn't make it valuable.
Fair.
So instead, recognizing that if you've gotten to a point that financial stress isn't the main thing having to drive you forward with your decisions every day,
Mhm.
then now that's the point of solving those problems is so you can turn the scope back on something that is.
It's the stress of leaving that and then abandoning the life I have. So if I'm not pushing and always evolving and developing myself, is the financial stress and me taking a step back going to put a burden on my family and my wife and my livelihood and
I don't
all that kind of
understand why
bullshit.
this would have to take away from your job. I believe doing these
Yeah.
practices will actually make you better at your job. You'll hate it less, which means
Yeah.
you'll show up better.
Yeah.
You'll come home
Yeah.
happier. You'll
Yeah.
reconnect with why you give a fuck about any of this instead of getting caught up in that binary fear based decision making of, well, I either take care of everything for everyone else and I'm kind of miserable, or I'm happy and everyone else fails.
Yeah.
Because that's not true.
Right. Right.
You know, these people unconditionally love you. They want to see you take care of yourself. I promise. It also takes a
Right.
lot less effort than you think it does.
Right. That's why I'm here. That's what I wanted to hear. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Happy to help, man. This is one of my favorite things to do with people. There's nothing worse than seeing people get to the point of success in their life and still operating with that fucking self induced boot on their neck
Yeah.
about why they can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you did
Yeah.
it, man. This was the point to get here.
Right.
So,
And it's
like,
still like,
let's
yeah,
celebrate
exactly.
and win. It's really
Right.
uncomfortable because we've never focused on anything else that gives us that same type of self worth and validation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it takes time to just build the new thing. I mean, think about this like you're implementing any new hobby. If you decided you wanted to pick up and play guitar tomorrow and just admitted that, all right, I'm going to play for 15 minutes every day for the next 5 years. I bet you're pretty
Right.
good at guitar.
Yeah.
I bet some days you end up playing for an hour, but you got to get through that window first, which is stumbling around with it and fucking trying to learn chords and feeling like an asshole.
Right.
It's just new and you don't know how. So give yourself permission to fuck some stuff up and learn what
Yeah.
taking care of yourself actually looks like and what do you need? What actually refills you?
Mhm. Yep. Cool, man.
Yeah. Dude,
Appreciate it.
you'll get a text from me at the end of this.
Yeah.
Check that out and let's figure out a time to chat.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Let me keep reading through some questions. Just getting home. Good work, Tony. I know you've been involved for a long time. Chad, tend to be mentally rigid. Any advice on being more flexible with this? Meaning, if I don't work out at 6 a.m. when I said I would, I feel like I wasted the day. Okay. So why don't you just get up and go then?
Why don't I get up and go?
Yep.
Well, like the latest one was I just didn't sleep hardly at all the night before.
So what? Been tired before?
Yeah, but that's why you asked me. That's why.
No, I get it, right? But understand that that's also bullshit you're telling yourself.
Sure. And I didn't do it at 6 o'clock, but that doesn't mean I can't do it sometime later in the day.
Totally means you can, but that's not the question you asked.
Yeah.
The question you said is, how do you, because if you don't work out at 6 a.m. when you said you would, you feel like you wasted it. I want to avoid you feeling like you wasted the day.
Right.
So
Right.
the cost or the deposit that you need to make to not feel that way and torture yourself with it all day is just do the thing and do
Gotcha.
anything.
Gotcha.
If you get a second one in later in the day because you feel like it, great. But you've already covered the ground to get out of your own ass about it. Because the self-torture is way fucking worse on your system than actually going to do the thing.
Right.
In fact, like that self-torture that's coming through, we have to learn to listen to it. What's it telling you to do? It's telling you to get up. That you're creating extra suffering for yourself for no fucking reason. Listen to it. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I think that was it right there. It doesn't have to be perfect.
There isn't a perfect. Like, that's a lie. That quest of perfection, of having the greatest plan, greatest thing, greatest this, the constantly planning, the researching online, fuck all that. Do something.
Right.
Do you know how many times I've looked online at buying shoes before I start running? I know this fucking trap. I've been here before.
Right.
In fact, just start running. Upgrade shoes when I actually feel like I need something different.
Right.
But don't do the thing where I buy shoes and then don't run, and then those sit around as some fucking reminder to me of a place I didn't follow through.
My apartment is full of crap from that.
Well, either get rid of it or get to doing.
Right.
Sell it. Remove the attachment to whatever feeling of, well, let myself not doing that. Like, you just didn't. Who gives a shit? Move on.
Yep.
You're not required to feel bad about it. You are required to do something different if you would like it to change.
Right. I'll show you one of the frivolous purchases I just made the other day.
Excellent. A unicycle. Fucking A.
Gonna work on balance.
That's one way to start, I suppose. I don't know that I would consider unicycle minimum effective dose, but however,
No.
if you spend 15 minutes a day, like, do you have somewhere like a dip bar that you can sit on and kind of hold your arms while you're on it and balanced? Like a counter you can hold on to?
Your counter chairs. Yeah.
So start doing that 15 minutes a day and teach yourself how to ride it. That's all it takes, man. You just have to get through that window to wait for it to click, but you can only get it to click through repetition. So quit giving a shit about what the reps look like, because you don't even know what it's like to feel like riding a unicycle. Do you know what I mean? Thanks, brother.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Bryn, techniques or advice for getting out of shame spiral or beating yourself up for not accomplishing the list or even the minimum effective dose. Yeah, man. So that's where I fall kind of back into my gratitude practice. I'm done with the fucking shame spiral. because that ends up burying me more and then adding me more shame to where I don't show up again and again and again. So instead of that, as soon as I realize that I've made a mistake, or if I'm in the shame spiral, which at least we know that part's useless. You're not going to shame and guilt yourself into a fucking life you enjoy. It's not the way this is going to go. You can shame and guilt yourself out of really shit circumstances to good. It's a safety mechanism because it's doing anything it can to get you to take action. Now, at this point, it's built into the programming of how we talk to ourselves. So instead, as soon as I recognize that I'm in some type of shame spiral and shitting on myself, I need to first be able to recognize that I'm doing a thing that I can stop doing. Like, oh shit, I'm shitting on myself. I just need to recognize that. I'm doing that thing. And then from there, it's being able to say, thanks for stopping. Thanks for doing something different. Thanks for getting back on track faster. Thanks for going to do something instead of continuing to shit on ourselves. Doing anything puts us back in alignment with who we want to become. Me sitting here and shitting on myself sends me back into the past attached to that identity, that belief, that limiting factor of what I can accomplish.
Yeah. I find myself time and time again of it it just hits so deep. It's almost it's paralyzing. Like
Well,
it
so the reason it's that loud
where yeah.
is because of how much it wants you to go the other way.
Yeah. And I was just journaling on that this morning, and it's been a reoccurring theme for the past since the first of the year of that of the just do the damn thing. Just do it.
Well, dude, we can
And
delay
go.
that
And
feeling with distraction of anything else from preparing, procrastinating, jerking off to reading a new book or listening to a podcast or anything that's not doing the thing.
yeah.
And like all of that will feel good in the moment. But what ends up happening is that fucking alarm bell has to get louder and louder and louder until you can't listen, until you can't stomach it anymore, and then you change. But that's not
Yeah.
required. We don't have to operate anymore that the room needs to be on fire for us to take action. We can take action out of love for what we want to become instead of fuck you for who you've been. It's starting a new journey.
Yeah.
We're not at the end of anything. Giving yourself grace for not knowing how to do this. It's cool. Let's start practicing. That's the only way we get better at anything. Does that make sense, brother?
It does. It does. It's like I said, it's been reoccurring for quite some time and have been listening to it and taking small actions and some minimum effective dose in some respects, but also just that like I could do more. Like
Of course.
I do some and I'm there and then I'm like I just need a breath to be gentle with myself or give myself some grace. And then I'm like, no, you don't need grace. You need to get your ass and get this done. You need more. You need more. You need to keep
So like
pushing. And I just I
recognizing
burn myself
recognizing
out
identify
of
that voice. That voice, that judge, that critic. Recognize that voice. It's not you.
yeah.
You identify with it because it's also been a useful tool of getting shit done. And I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you can get shit done when it matters. When your back's against the wall, when it's fucking go time.
Yeah.
But being able to do it all the time is the difference. Look, it's much better to be someone who's trying to learn consistency, who can get it done when it counts, than being someone who can't get it done ever and is inconsistent. Like, you've already got half the puzzle.
But
And it's being softer on yourself isn't being complacent. I'm more goal fucking driven than I've ever been. But I also know what moves the needle for it and not staying attached to what doesn't serve me and like it used to. I don't hold myself to some training regimen like I used to when I was trying to become best in the world. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish anymore. I'm concerned about feeling good. I'm concerned about longevity. I'm concerned about having fun. I remember when my body didn't fucking work after I got injured. What I recognize is that I'm on a collision course with another point in my future that I don't know when it stops working again. So I'm going to try to squeeze as much as I can out of this fucking cool ass machine while I get the opportunity to exist on this planet. I want to see what it can do if I get out of the way. If I stop poisoning it, if I stop fucking beating myself up. If I just really treat it with what an honor it is to have such a kick-ass machine. Yo, it's carried you through every single one of your life experiences. It drastically affects how you experience the world. Because if you don't like your machine and you think people are looking at you, judging you, X, Y, and Z, I wish I looked a certain way. Now you have to manage everything you experience through that bullshit filter. Instead of one that's like, I love this fucking thing. I'm glad I take care of it. I'm glad I take care of me. Not everything's in opposition to us when we start taking care of ourselves.
True.
Battle's all internal, dude.
Yeah.
We've talked before.
Yes,
We'll
it
chat
is.
again.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for your help.
Danny, can you dive into your average day? I'm going to do a couple more questions, guys. I got a bunch of them. Jesus. All right. I'm going to do a couple more. Let me go ahead and give you average structured day. I usually wake up between 4 and 5 a.m. I haven't used an alarm clock in quite some time. Once I get up, I typically make my way into an hour of movement of some sort, whether that's going to get on my bike or I come up to the gym and I move. Depending on what I need to accomplish that day, kind of sets what the rest of that morning routine looks like. If it's going to be a heavy creative day where I need to be writing and doing stuff like business-wise, then I make sure that I'm doing something that's going to warm my brain up too. I listen to a podcast that I find interesting. I just want to start clicking on ways of perceiving problem solving and figuring out how to strategize to get what I want done. So I'm trying to warm my brain up. And as soon as I'm done with my morning routine, which is usually hour, give or take, and I wrap up with cold plunge or a shower or a couple breaths, depending on what I have access to. And then I'm usually pretty fired up to dive straight into whatever those things are that move the needle for building my life the way I want it to. But that's what gets my first set of attention, is proactive work, is doing all the things that I need the most creative fire to figure out. Showing up for those, first and foremost. I realize that every day I have reactive work, say the job you signed up for and the things that need to be done. I'm going to do those whether I'm fucking tired or not, because I don't skip out on my responsibilities. But I also know that they don't need as much of the creative fuel as the other stuff does. And if I don't do the creative stuff first, I will not have the gas to do that at the end of the day. So I prioritize it. I make sure that I handle those things first, and I handle it as long as I can make progress. At some point, if I run out of steam, if I'm writing one morning or creating content or filming or doing any of that, when it runs out of steam and it seems to be less effective and it's time to move on, I put it down for the day and move on. There's an infinite amount of shit I'm going to have to do. I'm not in a rush to get through my vision board. I'm very aware of the truth that the journey of accomplishing any of those things is where I acquire confidence and skill, not by actually finishing it. So rushing, that's a mistake. So what I've figured out is, how do I stay consistently moving toward it so that no matter what, I end up there anyway. You know, right now I'm 220-ish body weight wise. So health wise, what are my goals? I'm 42 years old. I weigh 220 pretty consistently. I'd like to be 215 pounds by the time I'm 50. That's my goal. So I need to lose a little bit more than 1 pound a year. But we damn sure ain't never going to be heavier than we are today. So I understand what type of priority that effort needs. If I'm not trying to lose the 100 pounds like I was in the past, I now know what holds maintenance, so that I can take time to now focus on these other areas of my life. Average sleep amounts, I'm usually asleep by 9 or 10 and up between 4 and 5. I've built a life that I don't need an alarm clock. That was kind of the plan. And so I get up whenever I get up. I wake up sometimes at 3. I start. Like, who am I waiting for permission to go get started on my day? I know what things I want to accomplish. I'm pretty fucking stoked to be alive, man. I'm trying to make the most of my time. Not because it matters to some grand scheme or who I'm trying to impress. I'm trying to fucking just see what I'm capable of during this existence. What a gift it is to care. What a gift it is to even be able to be alive in a time where we can focus on these type of things. I don't think anyone here had to fucking kill their dinner tonight. What a relief. You know, that's where Gap and Gang got ordered. Awesome. Josh, make through. Matt, I could highlight how you defeated some of the mental obstacles when you're in that miserable low. Like, how did you overcome self-doubt, or how did you establish feeling good about yourself? I feel like an imposter a lot of the days, and I feel like my own mental degradation of myself is the hardest battle I ever did. I get it, man. At my lowest would have been early 2017, after having my first knee surgery, realizing I'm not going to compete ever again. And I just got fired from my career job, the outside sales position. So I've just lost a $200,000 a year job. I'm no longer able to compete in the sport that I became best in the world at. My marriage is in a rough space. I'm in chronic pain, and I'm a miserable fuck, and I'm mean to everyone around me, because how dare the universe do this to me? What I realized is, if I don't solve that problem, I'll kill myself. That if I don't solve the problem of getting out of my own way and figuring out a different way to operate, I know how that story ends. The truth is, if I solve the problem, I'm dead at the end of that story too. So what's the fucking risk? What's the risk then of going all in and trying and just experimenting and realizing, like, oh man, we've tried this a number of times. What usually becomes the problem? Oh, we quit after a month. Oh shit, that's the problem. What if all those things that you started with that high fucking velocity go after, instead of backing off of it whenever time got tricky and the universe got busy, you held some type of minimum effective dose and would have continued doing it every day since then? What is the change in your world? That's essentially the chaos theory of the butterfly flapping its wings and what it creates tidal waves down the road. That's what that minimum effective dose is. It's constantly making sure those butterfly wings are flapping so that in 10 years from now, you're getting all the rewards of it. Feeling like an imposter syndrome? Dude, I do it all the time. 2 years ago when I started hosting these calls, no one was on them. I spoke to an empty screen. I recorded it. I get invited to speak at different things, and I look at who else is on stage, and I feel like they're going to realize I'm a moron. Because I know I'm a moron. And I can get caught in that too. That I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not supposed to be here. And so one of the tools of a journaling assignment I use now to make sure that I know where to land on that is if I'm taking radical accountability for my life. That means all the fuck ups are mine. They're not bad luck. Nothing was out to get me. They're just mine to deal with. I can't change them, but I'm the one to sort it out. They're my responsibility. And what comes with that we often forget is the other side of the coin. And that means all the fucking wins are mine. And so when I run through that feeling of that imposter syndrome, a lot of times for me, it ends up in this, like, how did I get here? Everyone's going to realize I'm a fucking ding dong and ask me to leave. And so I run back through that. Well, how did I get here? How did I get to the point that I feel like I want to share this information from people? What gave me permission? What's the 10 years of focusing on becoming the best I could be at a thing no one else gives a shit about? Highland Games. It's choosing to write a book in 2011 when I knew no one was going to buy it and read it. It's doing 500 podcasts and 2,000 YouTube videos. It's continuing to write and continue to travel and continuing to explore myself, continuing to change and become this best version of myself. It's losing 100 pounds. It's building a facility and building a community. It's creating courses that are valuable. It is showing up and working with clients. It's mastering how to tell my story and communicate impeccably. That's how the fuck I got here. Yeah, man, I've fucked up a lot of stuff along the way, but as far as I know, anybody that's successful, the road to success is paved with bricks of failure. So what? The universe doesn't track the mistakes. Accumulate the good. Move it into the side where you're 51% consistent. That makes you that. That means I do that most of the time. Figure out how to get that to 55% consistency and continue making progress. It doesn't have to look like perfection. Perfection is a fucking trap. Just like indecision is. Make a choice, get the data, make another choice. See if I got anything else I can grab real quick. Non-negotiables every single day, Ben, is some type of movement, gratitude, and how I feed myself. Those three are my minimums. Anything else I can add on that, I just celebrate as bigger wins.
Yep.
Yeah, Josh, around the 10K Ultra, that buying more gear. And look, companies know people do that. They're not dumb. Cody, do we find it more beneficial when starting to experiment with the concept of the minimum effective dose to a specific goal aspiration, or just general things you do regularly, i.e. fitness, business, relationship? So those are like my main areas. I mean, most people's concerns with personal development falls into health, wealth, and relationships. Those are basically the three buckets people have struggles with somewhere that they would like to change in their life. So for me, I set relatively specific goals for some of them. So back to vision board type stuff. And for those of you who have that course, awesome. For those of you who don't, you're going to get a text with a bundle offer from me to get all the courses as a thank you for coming. And anyone who's interested in joining our community gets all the courses for free. But setting those down, like for me at this point, I know I'm consistent, so I don't have to put super specific goals. Whenever I was beginning doing this, like you said, starting out, yeah, I need to set some non-negotiable rules because I'm a tricky fuck. I know that I'll try to sneak my way out of this. So like when I set dietary rules with myself when I first started trying to change, I mean, I first went in and did carnivore for 8 months. I couldn't figure out a loophole. If it had a face, fucking eat it. That's your rule. In the first month of doing that, I'm not tracking calories. I just want to establish the habit that I could eat nothing but meat. I'm not interested in also being hungry and changing my diet. Let's change the diet and then let's focus on cutting back calories. You keep dialing it up. It doesn't have to look like perfection from jump. If you can't establish the base foundational habits of consistency, there's no point in trying to dial in exactly what my macros need to look like. So I use the minimum effective dose to slowly be able to ramp myself into a thing. I know that the truth is consistency is going to beat any one given day's calorie choices. When I start doing it around my mental state, yeah, man, that was being pretty non-negotiable with my morning routine of being able to sit outside, do a little bit of breathing, some simple breath work, and start adding in at the time then it was journaling. And all that was for me was just allowing somewhere for me to have an honest conversation with what was going on in my head. So that I could start trying to strategize a way out of these narrative and traps I've built myself around of why I can't and the excuses and it'll go this way and that and blah, 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 blah. Fuck, man. I've been wrong too much. I want to have an experience before I have an opinion at this point. I'm too good at talking myself out of things that are good for me. I've been wrong too many times. I like finding out where I'm wrong at this point. That means I'm sharpening the blade. I just don't let my ego get in the way of thinking I already know how to do this yet. Carl, I love that you're using the mala practice. All right. I think we kind of got through stuff. Any questions? Anybody got anything they want to address? Any of that? So we're going to be sending out that text here shortly for those of you who I think are going to be a good fit for the mastermind weekend. Let me give you an idea of what that looks like. It's going to be here in St. Louis, held at Dope. The big focus is going to be on this vision board. And so my goal is that everyone leaves that weekend with their 2026 vision board fully fleshed out, knowing exactly what the steps are, what minimum effective dose looks like, and a strategy to get those things done. I'm going to be teaching gratitude. I'm going to be teaching more about minimum effective dose and how we put it into strategy like that, specifically for your goals at the event. I don't want to talk in generalities there. I want you to say, I want to accomplish X, and I want to sit down with you and figure out what's the strategy to get us there. I'm also going to be bringing in some of my coaches, some of my mentors that are there for entrepreneurs, people building communities, people trying to build online businesses. I have people that help with content creation that have helped me for years. So there is someone there most likely that's accomplishing the goals you want to. Get with them and expertise and ask questions, and let's dive into actually putting a strategy together to accomplish these things. So that's the goal of this November mastermind event here in St. Louis. So I look forward to talking to you guys. If anyone has any questions, anything before we punch out?
Yeah, man, I got one if you got a minute.
Got it.
Hey, what's up, dude? I sent you a message earlier about I started doing some free diving and creating the minimum effective dose for some practice techniques. So we normally have a routine we do before we do a dive, and it's just to get our body ready. We stretch our eustachian tubes, we stretch our diaphragm, right? But what I have trouble with is creating a mindset practice that I can repeat to keep my focus during that session.
So where do you lose focus and what happens?
So, like during a dive, a lot of it, if you're not be able to relax by controlling kind of where the directions your thoughts are going, you'll mess up your dive by either focusing on your time or you're focusing on your movements, right? And so I don't know if you had any tricks you
Okay.
had up your sleeve
And so
about
does
that.
a lot of that, does your mind just naturally wander?
Yeah, because what I have a problem with is I'll get to a point where I get bored, and so I won't be able to focus on the actions of what I'm doing because I get bored. The amount of time holding my breath, like my mind will just wander.
So don't try to tame it like some fucking weird teenager. I mean, you're essentially in a meditative state right there, right? So the mind's gonna wander.
Yeah.
So like in the same way when you're practicing breath work, if you're doing any type of accounting routine or any of that or meditation, have you ever used like a mantra or anything like, so what are you trying to actually focus on that you can't?
So normally I use music. So I'll do a sea shanty. I can repeat the sea shanty in my head,
Okay,
and it
so
gives me a
that
little
right
bit of a
there
time
is a
frame.
meditative mantra. That's the exact same method of having a mantra,
Mm-hmm.
like as far as Eastern ideas go.
Okay.
Just giving you a repetitive thing to think about that even loses like its specific meaning and just becomes the sound, right? Like there's some point when you're saying a thing repetitively that it kind of morphs.
Yep.
Right? So that's no different than the practice of when I'm counting breaths. That's why some breathwork practices have us do a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, or any of these other things. It's because when we're doing that, we're forcing the autonomic nervous system, which is our regular breathing pattern, to change to a way that's not natural. And so we have to focus on it. Now, occasionally when the mind wanders, you pull it back in as fast as you can. Get back on the thing. Get back on the mantra, get back on the thing that keeps you focused.
So I want to pull it back. I don't want to
Yeah.
let it wander. Okay.
I don't think in that, if you're telling me that you want to, this is up to you. If you're telling me that you need to focus because you're doing this crazy fucking thing and your mind wandering is a problem, is that eating up oxygen? Is it making you worse at it?
Yeah, it
I
can cause
look
a
at,
panic.
huh?
It can cause a panic if you lose your train or your focus. It'll cause a reactive panic.
So when your mind wanders, do you end up in that panic? How often does that happen? Or what's the consequence for your mind wandering, your experience?
It depends on where the mind goes. So like if I'm in the mood and I'm in the focus and I'm doing the dive, I'll keep the relaxation. But if the mind picks on a stressful topic, it'll just send the body like your adrenaline spikes, your heart rate spikes, and it messes up your dive. And you just gotta head back up.
So that there is most likely the most important thing of practicing this sport. Conquering that thing of, I understand having stressful thoughts, but they're not dangerous. They're just a thought. Be able to step away and have some experience with meditation to realize I'm not my thoughts. Those things are always going, man. Sometimes they trigger me, sometimes they don't. But I'm not them. I get to choose which ones I connect to. And most likely right now, while I'm underwater doing a thing, that one's not helpful. I'll deal with you later. But that is your choice. It's not always easy to stop thinking about a thing. That's pretty tough. But we can always think about something else. I can always choose what I want to think about. You can tell me right now, think about a red fucking school bus. I could do that. And I could do that in any amount of stress. I can't necessarily turn myself off from thinking about what I'm thinking about, but I can choose something else. So that's where I would choose to go back into the mantra. If it just wanders and you lose time and you're in flow state, man, let that wander go. But curtail the one that's trying to get you out of it. You know, that's, for microdosing, that for me is using the cold plunge. It's really stressful. It fucking sucks. It doesn't ever feel good. I also don't have to react. It's uncomfortable. It's not painful. I'm not in danger. There's alarm bells going off saying, get the fuck out of here. And I'll start with, well, I probably have emails I need to get to. Oh, do I? 3 minutes? You're a fucking surgeon? You need to go get to those pretty quick? Come on. I know my bullshit. It's being able to use your brain to decide what you want to think on and get back in and realize what's true and not true. I don't have to think about that right now. I think about this. Thanks for noticing I can change it, right? So use the gratitude there to rewire that skill of thanks for noticing I can change to choose something else. You don't have to react. That's exactly right, Danny. You're not obligated.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You may not be able to choose the thoughts, but like the idea of meditation is going from that river of thoughts that's constantly running through your head and being reactionary to that river of thoughts. Some days it's rocky and you're in a bad mood, and other days it's great and things are great. Sometimes I don't know why they did what they did. But I know that if I'm attached to my thoughts as being me, then the thoughts control what I do. I know that I can move myself mentally to the bank of the river so that I can just watch the thoughts. I can just watch the river be the river. Those thoughts are going to come and go, man. Every single one of them has been temporary. How much energy do you want to give it to keep it around?
Gotcha. Awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yo, thank you guys so much for getting on tonight.
Thank you, Matt.
I really, really appreciate it. Some of you guys are going to get a text message from us with some information and a questionnaire to fill out. And we can talk about the retreat and those type of things. And then as I interview people for it, I'm going to make a selection and see who's a great fit. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate you guys choosing to spend time and share with me and come listen to this. These are a lot of things that it took me a long time to sort through in my own journey. And I feel really honored to be able to share them with anyone who's curious of trying themselves. So
thank you for everything you do.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yep, I am recording it, and we will get that out on an email to everyone soon enough. I will also be dropping the recording of this into the floor and ceiling course. So for anyone who already has access to that, the webinar will go into there as well. And I look forward to it. I hope I get to see some of you guys in the group. I hope we get to see some of you guys at retreats, being part of the community. Surround yourself with people that give a shit about the way you want to live your life. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.